Hello, everyone. This is Aaron with Inside the Skev. And just to introduce this episode, it is part of a three-part series focusing on health in regards to the community. So this is with Julia Bunn, and she is a landscape designer. We're going to hear all about how she designs landscapes that are healthy for the community and in turn making it healthier for the people and the environment around us. But make sure to catch the episodes with Heather Collins Training about improving your physical fitness, and with Matt Weschler from the Village Farm Stand. Enjoy. Welcome to Inside the Skev, and I'm your host, Aaron Maslansky. Today, I am delighted to be joined with Julia Bunn from The Spirited Gardener. The Spirited Gardener is a boutique landscape design company that focuses on sustainable practices to improve the environments she builds for her clients. And this goes all along with the theme of green environmental, several episodes I've been doing because I do think it's so important. And Julia, thank you for joining me today.
Yeah, glad to be here, and thanks for the invite.
Oh, it's a pleasure. And, it's a pleasure getting to know you. I had the pleasure of coming and seeing the exterior of your home and what you've done. And it's kind of your test bed for what you do. And I got to know a little bit more about your background. One question somebody may have is, what does a spirited gardener mean?
Well, that's very interesting because a spirited gardener for me, so it's sort of like, every business has that like hidden mission statement that kind of underlies whatever we do that doesn't necessarily get advertised. And for me, a spirited gardener is getting connected with nature around our homes, bringing and inviting a relationship with the natural world in our own in our own domain, if you will. And so I think it's a really good way to start looking at the world through new eyes. It's not just about does it look good, but
Mm-hmm.
does it also serve? Is it taking care of water? Is it taking care of the little pollinators that zoom around? And well, people have mixed emotions about skunks and raccoons and squirrels, but I actually love skunks. Pepe Le Pew is my hero. And
Why do you love skunks? you can you can get through the smell.
I can. It's just like cannabis, isn't it?
Slightly different. There's, I'd say, a good skunk and a bad skunk.
Well, I always wonder about that. Like it's all relative what we choose, right? And
I think
so
so.
a spirited gardener opens their mind and their hearts and they put their hands to work. So action, faith in this new paradigm, if you will, without action is dead. So it's also a spirited gardener takes action and puts in plants that are relevant to the local ecology, manages it so it looks good and other people love it too and want to invite it into their yards. So there's also that connection between people and community and growing a larger community. Because when we all start planting more native plants, we're building in our areas a greater diversity than you actually have in our agricultural lands now, which is
Yeah.
pretty amazing. There's actually been books written about it by biologists who've been noting that the greatest biodiversity now exists within the realm of the burbs, the suburbs, the urban areas.
That's pretty incredible. It's been something that I've been aware of, but I've been learning about more as I have more conversations with people on the show about the environment. Is the breakdown in diversity, whether it be ecology, whether it be socially, whatever it may be,
Yeah.
it uh, and it becomes more homogenous. It's not as healthy, and when you have more of this variety, diversity, uh, the environment becomes stronger. Whatever you take that to mean, and I think that's when you start to do things in the environment, something that you can see, it starts to reflect within your psyche. Is that how you got into this and started to develop your business as a spirited gardener?
Yeah, totally. I mean, you know, the evolution of developing my business started basically with uh, uh, I used to paint landscapes. You can see my landscape here a little bit. That was prefab
Yeah.
farms for the third world. So it was just sort of like, yeah, we have this illusion we can plop down life anywhere and make it happen. But basically, I got it that I could have this idea of it, or I could like think about like how can you actually do it
Mm-hmm.
in the place where you are. And in when I lived in Costa Rica in the early 1990,
Whoa.
no, in the early 1990s. Yeah, yeah, I'm ancient, but anyways, in the early 1990s, I had the opportunity to grow my first garden and to design my first garden. And I was hooked from the beginning. It was just like, oh my God, these plants are alive. They respond to what you do and what's around them in the environment. And you can put something, right place, right plant makes all the difference in the world for a healthy garden. And then also that we need to feed ourselves. So it was great to have an experience with growing some food within a more naturalized environment. And
Yeah.
so I got hooked on that, and then I got divorced. I moved back to the States, and I had to take care of two little kids. So I it, I became a master gardener for a while, which was a volunteer situation where you got trained to help. It was a great system set up,
Where'd you do that?
the University of Illinois Extension Service. And it's a great way for anyone who wants to deepen their knowledge of gardening to start stepping into that world. And it's a small price you pay, and then you volunteer afterwards to get experience working in gardens. And one of the jobs I had was deadheading geraniums in Lincoln Park when I was training as a master gardener. And this lady was walking by and she goes, "Are you crazy?" And I just like looked up at her and I go, "No, believe it or not, somebody wants me to do this and I'm doing it." But it's a perfect example of that those were annual beds that were planted a lot for the park district. And then later I got to actually work as a designer with the park district through more landscapes. And we started converting from doing these annual beds, which is kind of a little crazy when you think about it
Yeah.
financially, and like bringing in all these plants new every year, when you could have plants that are perennial and maintaining in the beds all the time. And started working on that process. So that was really exciting to kind of get to experience that professionally too.
Well,
So
it gives you the background to know, how to do things better,
yeah,
and that you worked, you got your hands dirty, literally,
yeah.
and were able to have that kind of experience. Now, what do you do that's different than other gardeners and landscape designers and landscape architects? Because I would think that most people who are in this business want to create beautiful landscapes and do things that are good for the environment. Or am I wrong in that perception?
It's there's a great word in Spanish, depende. It depends on, some people, they want to have maintenance free or low maintenance landscapes. And so that's actually supported the propensity for us to plant things that are not native landscapes, because the insects are not attracted to them. And so there was this whole design school that developed in the 80s and 90s, which actually started had systematically sort of pulled out more and more of native plants because you wanted pest-free environments, right? So,
Yeah.
so uh, some people are still doing that stuff. They put in even things that are a little bit invasive, like burning bush, because it's attractive, it's easy. It's just, and there's a reason. I understand why people do it. And so, what's different about the way I like to work with people is I understand that process of wanting it easy, But at the same time, um, I want to encourage people to start understanding we can change what easy is and reframe it and utilize native plants in that process. So I think also I'm about relationships. A
Yeah.
lot of business is transactional. And I think there's a big shift going on in our culture right now where people are trying to shift from being transactional. I mean, I still have to be responsible with the numbers that I come up with for my business, and also be able to share those things with my clients well. But at the same time, it's like I'm having every time I go in and I start working with somebody's garden, I love that land and I want to help
Yeah.
them love it too. And it's sort of like there's so much destroyed in our culture right now. And I think when you bring some love and care to the world just immediately around you, you just it starts to pulse back to you. And so I can't tell you how much fun it is. I got a new client a couple of weeks ago, and they're just over the moon about what they're going to be doing now. You know, this one gal, I can't wait to have my rain garden. You know,
Hmm.
she wants to keep the water where it lands. One of the biggest problems we have in our area is flooding now. And
Of course.
is it a good time to transition to that?
Well, yeah. I mean, I've had on the Metropolitan Water Reclamation
Mm-hmm.
District on the show, and we went to the O'Brien facility at Howard and McCormick, and we talked about the Deep Tunnel Project, which is a massive infrastructure project that's been going on since the mid 1970s to basically hold the excess rainwater in the area because we don't have a separate stormwater system. We have a combined sewer stormwater system in the Chicagoland area. So the idea has been to put that excess water into these tunnels, which then go to these massive reservoirs. And again, I said we've been working on this project since the 1970s. So and it still gets filled to capacity very quickly, even with this massive project. So how do we how do we deal with this without doing some other type of massive infrastructure project? I mean, you talk about rain gardens. What does that mean?
Yeah. Simplify, simplify, simplify. I really love that concept. It's like because we can do very complicated things now, our culture has this propensity to want to fix things uh, with by engineering, by doing things in these very measured and constricted and directed ways. And one of the fun things that I've been learning about water, it's just a process. But I went to Acres USA, which is for farmers, a week of workshops with my daughter because she encouraged me to just kind of get out and hear some other people who are working with the land and their ideas about things. And one of the things the guy was talking about when I went to a water, how to distribute water on the land so
Mm-hmm.
that you don't have to do as much irrigating and you can use passively the amount of water that comes into the property or onto the land. And you can scale that down and do it on residential properties too. But he said that water moves in a spiral. And I thought, that's fascinating. And so when we put it in a straight channel, which is what engineering likes to do, because we want to move things from one place to the other as directly as
Right.
possible, that what we do is we actually we accelerate the speed with which it moves and all those things. So if we have a little yard, for instance, I have like 25, probably uh, 25 by 35 square foot front yard. It's maybe not even that big, but um,
Right. Pretty typical yard in
yeah, a
Evanston.
typical Evanston yard. Um, and I have really well draining soils because I live near the ridge area. So one thing that's really interesting is a lot of people look at their yards in this area and they've heard somewhere, oh, I've got clay soil, or they don't know that if you live in a certain area, it's actually really sandy. And so
Yeah.
if you live in those areas, that's a huge benefit because doing a rain garden is a heartbeat. You can just, the waters, I mean, the soils are already draining really well. So all you have to do is I love Rain Garden Alliance is a great organization that has a calculator. And you can go on there and you can actually measure the amount of water that's coming off of the rooftop of your house down any specific downspout. And you can build the garden the size it needs to be to manage that water. And then you can make it 4 inches deep, you can make it 6 inches deep or 8 inches deep. Depending on if you have heavier clay soils, you may not want to do an 8 foot deep, totally ponding area for your rain garden, but you could maybe put a couple of areas in that would little pockets that would go 8 inches down, and then you can also sculpt the earth. It doesn't have to be always straight. And you can then invite the water to stay where it lands, and the plants do the work. These native plants have wonderful networks of roots. People often talk about communities of plants. The reason these communities of plants evolve actually is that different plants have different rooting structures. Some spread out on the surface more, some go deeper.
Do they connect to each
And
other?
they can connect to each other. Some plants
Oh,
really
wow.
like they'll share mycorrhizal funguses that are in the soils to sort of communicate. Or I mean, there's that, and this was all
Yeah,
a
I've
lot
heard
of this
about the
is
communication between plants.
yeah, that this is it's mostly within species, but there's all kinds of wonderful things that are being discovered. That the earth is alive, and that what we want to do is keep it covered and protect, because every time we have these really large beds that just have the mulch on top of it, which is the hardwood ground
Yeah.
mulch, which does a great job of suppressing plant growth. You don't want to use that kind of mulch in a perennial bed, because perennials and woodies grow differently. They like different biologies in the soil. This is the way that the farmers talk about it. So it's just
Yeah.
fascinating, and you want to get a green mulch growing. And so there's all kinds of wonderful plants out there that we can utilize and have it still look very structured and legible, if you will, is a nice word that people like to talk about, the landscape being legible. Um,
So when the rain goes into these rain
yeah,
gardens, does it eventually pass through and go into the rest of, I mean, does it go anywhere or does it just evaporate over time?
it's a mixed system, right? If you look at rain cycles, there's this thing called transevaporation. Plants don't just take water into their root systems; they also breathe out moisture. So there's this sort of transpiration cycle that goes on. That's part of uh, the greater environment too. So that's why trees and all these different plants are a part of a bigger system. They're not, so they do that. They also pull down water, and there's in different areas you have what you call a water table. And the water table can
Yeah.
be really high in some areas. So people will call me in and say, "Man, it's always wet back here." They might have a high water table, and in that case, different. You got to play with different ideas, but oftentimes the area is totally underplanted too. And if you put in some really hefty drinkers there, some great trees and shrubs, they'll really drink it up. And a mature tree can drink 100 gallons of water a day.
Whoa, that's a
That's a
lot.
lot.
I mean, that a lot of times, if I go show somebody a house and the backyard shows signs of
Yeah,
water that goes down to the middle between the
yeah,
houses, people start to think, okay, I've got to put a sump pump system in the back and then pump it out to the front to get that water
right.
out of there. If you do rain gardens, can you eliminate the need
Yeah,
for
depends
that?
on the property and what the problem is. But another way to do it too is you graduate the amount of water going down to that area. Again, we have that problem in our culture, which is you get the downspout and you point it straight and you say, get that water out of here. And so you actually are concentrating the water into those areas, the
Right.
way that things are set up. If you spread it out, okay, here's the 3 secrets to water: slow it down, spread it out, and infiltrate it. So oftentimes, like I went to see one flooding situation here that's really on that ridge where there's more sandy soils, and the client was showing me that it was a very large property, and the backyard was lovely, and she said, if we put in a rain garden here, would it be helpful? And I said, yeah. And if you put in rain gardens on the way down, you won't get the concentration
Yeah.
of water. So you can actually like do little ponding areas, and then they can overflow to the next ponding area. And and then it's beautiful too. People, like, when they're done, they
Oh
just go,
yeah.
"Oh, this is so cool!" There's an interaction with it. Water isn't an annoyance; it's a resource. And the thing is, it's a resource
Yes.
we constantly throw away and think it's just deadly. There's our culture's a little screwy
It,
right now.
our culture is weird. Our culture's, for some reason, we've turned to an unhealthy culture, and I think we need to get back to figuring out our health. You look at what's going on with the pandemic, and why is America taking the brunt of this so badly with being so sick? And you talk about comorbidity, and everyone's got some kind of other disease,
Yeah,
whether it be being overweight, diabetes, whatever, something like that that makes you more susceptible to being
yeah.
sick, and it's because of our lifestyles. And I think one of the things that I found interesting when we met for the first time, you're talking about how a lot of people say that they can't find, or they want to go out to nature, right? They want to, they have to get out of the city, but really there's nature all around us. Right here, like you said, we have the most biodiversity of plant species here in the suburbs. So what you're doing, this kind of work, and sprucing up the people's yards, you're not just helping the homeowner, it's everybody who walks by that place, the neighborhood itself. I mean, I know when I like to go take a walk or a run, I like to go in certain areas where it's pretty. I would think that most people
Yeah,
do too. And the prettiness is the
yeah.
landscape.
And we can be building that, in our own neighborhoods. Our neighborhoods can be the places people want to go to be connecting with nature. It's a beautiful thing.
Right. It is. Now, what do you actually go and maintain these gardens for people, or do you design them, or what is your scope of
Uh,
services?
I design them. I project manage them. I have relationships with quite a few different companies in different regions too. So I can get people to help me install stuff like in Oak Park. I've got a great guy that can help me uh, for Skokie and those areas. And then I have a guy who works a little bit more up north, and they do beautiful jobs. They're really lovely people, and it's like uh, I don't know, I just really appreciate it. And then if people want some help maintaining afterwards, I have Spirited Gardener Associates. And this is a program which I'm building. It's like in the middle of evolving right now. But basically, that you can hire a gardener that I'm helping learn about how to manage a wilder landscape. And they can come out and work with you for $25 an hour to weed and just keep things up. So that's a service a lot of people like to take advantage of, and I'll do a little bit of project management on that too, and I have a little fee for that, just to direct the people and get everybody on the same page, depending on the complexity of the garden. Sometimes it's just like it's one row of grasses and nice forbs or flowering plants, and great, that's a no-brainer. Here's the list of plants that belong there. Just take out anything that's not that. So and clients can often manage that too really well. And if you think about the going into your garage, getting your lawnmower out, making sure you have the gas, or hopefully use an electric cord or have a plug-in sort of battery operated lawnmower, the time probably is about the same over time to maintain it. It's just that
Yeah.
we're so programmed to think it's easy to do it this way. But when you weed, you're the other thing I love about weeding when you talk about the what's the spirited gardener thing is it's about discerning. So it's like a meditation. It's about making decisions with my life.
Hmm.
Like what do I want to have in my life and what do I not want to have in my life? And when I go out and I do some weeding, it somehow serves that process mentally for me too.
It's like you're being intentional about what you want in
And your
your
life.
environment.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, do you do things with larger installations? What are some of the? Or is it mostly residential that you work on, or do you work on other
Yeah, no,
larger
I'm
projects
basically
too?
residential. I actually was in a project with um, it's called WEF, the World the Water Environment Federation, which is a bunch of engineers. They invited me in to work on a project with MWRD for a school on the south side a couple years ago. It was a all volunteer thing, but I designed and helped organize the project, and it was a very lovely and interesting experience. Everybody who came to do the volunteer work was really excited and it was really fun. But there were some challenges in communicating with what the larger infrastructure people understand about things and what I was trying to say, hey guys, I know that's a way to do it. How about you want to look at this way? And so
Right.
rather than so I had the conversation and I was there and present for it, but I think I probably won't do that again soon unless I see a greater response for the idea that I was trying to bring. Because I can be much more effective
Yeah.
one client at a time in a neighborhood. And like if it catches on like wildfire, in neighborhoods things become trendy. If one person likes something, another person wants it too, and it's sort of like, oh yeah. And then if you can put that kind of light that kind of fire, you can manage more water in the neighborhood. Like there was a study done when I was first starting to work on rain gardens. They were doing a water tax in the city of Chicago, and they had done research. If 70% of the people within any particular block in Chicago or wherever would manage the rainwater on their properties, local flooding would probably be hardly problematic.
And it's not just the water that people
No,
think of seepage into their basement. It's the
right.
water that's
It's
going
what
into the
comes
sewer
down off
system.
your rooftops and off your
And
hardscapes. That's another thing people don't consider. Like you got a driveway, you got a patio. Those are in
right.
uninfiltratable surfaces, right? They're impervious, is what the other word is called.
Do you ever work on
Yeah, I
green
actually
roofs?
have done a little mini green roof for one of my original clients wow, back in the early 200s, 2000s. We put in the early 200s. Man, I get older every day.
Yeah, you are older and older. What was Jesus like?
We were great buddies. He was Jewish.
Yeah,
Oh
I do.
man. So, anyways, it was just really funny. Yeah. So, so she did a green roof on top of her garage, and she was just totally dedicated to getting these ideas out in the world. She was really one of those clients that is really a pioneer. And I was so grateful to have met her, Renee Schwartz. And we made a rain garden in her front yard, and she was trying to grow a lot of her own food. But unfortunately, the architect didn't understand how food plants drain and stuff. And there were some things that got a little wacky there. But the green roof has worked like a
Oh,
dream. And initially, she wanted a green roof that was very native plants and grasses, so she could look out from her house and see a meadow, right? And at that time,
yeah.
because I came into the project a little late, the architect had already locked into using this one particular system, which was a tray system, which wasn't bad, but it had a bunch of sedums on them. And after a couple of years, some of the sedums were not being effective when we got those really, really harsh, cold winters. There was dropout, and a few of them did okay. But by that time, I was already connected with a lot of native plant nurseries and stuff, and I said to one of my friends at Pizzo Native Nursery, Grace Kohler, who's been an amazing mentor and helper to me. She said, "Oh yeah, you could try this June grass colaria on there because it likes it dry, and it with green roofs. Hers was a little sloped, so there was never water just sitting there. It was always pretty well drained, and so we built up over time a native landscape on top of the roof with a few of the sedums still. So that was a fun project, and I still love working with Renee. Occasionally, I'll go say hi.
So, do you think that there is a big momentum shift within the local area and maybe globally to really recognize that we have a tremendous responsibility to make sure that we take care of the environment and to recognize what's actually healthy and working and not just do things because we were told to do it that way?
Shifts are wild, It's just like I read this cool book on tipping point, like that. What we're always looking for. You got it up there, yeah.
Yeah, I
Sure.
do.
Yeah, but that basically, I think what it is nevertheless, she persisted. It's just like you just have to keep meeting with like-minded people, growing that energy of enthusiasm for it. There's a great group out of New England, the New England area, well, also like just the East Coast, called ELA. It's the Ecological Landscaping Alliance. And for a while, we had in our region a Midwest, like a NELA. And it got absorbed into this bigger landscaping sort of industrial group. And so there's just like it's like people want to change, and at the same time it's like, and then they still understand that you need to manage things so that people can manage them. So there's this edge of how much does it cost, and like that. So again, getting away from relationship, uh, a relationship-based economy of business compared to a one where it's like you pay me this, I'll pay you that.
Transactional. Yeah.
So it's and so the back east is a much more powerful network because the people are more concentrated. So it's like the pods have grown faster, I think, and incrementally. And out here, because of this sort of Midwest big, huge landscape with all these farms and stuff that have diminished and depleted, the state of Illinois only has 0.1% of the state has naturalized areas. If that's pretty wild.
That's incredibly wild, especially considering just how much, we have of landscaping. And, I think it's, I think that there is some momentum to change that. I'm going to be speaking with Matt Weschler, who created a movie all about, it's called Sustainable. And he just opened up a place called Village Farm Stand on Dempster, where he brings in food from these local farms that are
Yeah.
sustainable, organic, independently owned. And that could be just, it's hard to scale that up, but at least it's something that we're starting.
Oh yeah,
And
and
we have it here.
CSAs are like that. CSAs are like that,
Yeah.
and and you got to ask your farmers, hey, do you guys have naturalized areas around your farms where you have better pollinators and stuff? And it's really interesting too, just like this whole delicate balance of what we want and what nature needs.
Yeah.
For instance, we want to use European bees to pollinate stuff. So we have beehives, and everybody's all excited about being a beekeeper, and everyone's worried about the bees dying. And when you look at naturalized habitats, bumblebees are actually much more effective pollinators than these European bees, and they're actually used now more in the world. There's a great book called Pollinator. It's called Pollinator Victory Garden. I love it. It's, if anybody wants to understand why to convert your space to more native plants, it's a great book to just totally reinforce that, and it helps you understand what this all means for us. And so it's all, and we're all learning. So
Yeah.
it's like there's so much we don't know, and we keep, like we can sometimes, the good can get in the way of the better in how we plan and see things. But if we're not trying to change, then I think that's tragic.
Yeah. No, I agree. But I think that what you're trying to do is educate, which is very important.
Yeah.
And, if people want to get to know you and be able to contact you, where should they go?
I have a website, The Spirited Gardener, or spiritedgardener.com. And I do consultations for people. I spend an hour and a half with you. You give me a Plativ survey, and we can go through, we can organize the space. Because I know people want to have gathering places and stuff like that. And I don't think grass is evil, but it is a good thing to use judiciously. And it's really fun to watch people's eyes kind of open as they start shifting how they allocate the space they want to use for living in the space around their homes.
Yeah, it changes your life.
Yeah, and it doesn't have to all be hardscape. I mean, you can use a little hardscaping, and you can do a little bit grassy areas, and then you can have some native plants around, and you can have them be like a circle around you, like this little fun private space. You can have it be far away so you can look at it, but you don't have to worry about it, So you can, so people can get a hold of me through my website. That's a really good way to do it.
Sounds good. Julia, I really appreciate you joining us and sharing what you do. And people, please reach out and let's make our environment, at least here inside the SCEV, a healthy place to live.
Thank you, Aaron. Yeah, keep coming back, guys. Yeah.